All right, everybody, it's the moment you all have been waiting for. The preview, predictions, and breakdown for UFC 306 O'Malley versus Dvalishvili from the Sphere in Las Vegas, Nevada. The first UFC event to take place at the Sphere, the most expensive, the most intricate UFC event according to the president of the UFC in Dana White. And in the main event of the evening, you have a battle for the Bantamweight Championship between the champion coming off that dominant title defense against Marlon Chito Vera in the Sugar Show. Sugar Sean O'Malley taking on the #1 ranked Georgian machine in Merab the Machine Dvalishvili. And then in the co-main event of the evening, you have a battle in the women's flyweight division for the championship at 125 pounds in a trilogy bout between the #1 ranked former flyweight champion in the Bullet, Valentina Shevchenko, taking on the champion, the woman who is, in my opinion, 2-0 against the Bullet, but technically 1-0-1 in Alexa Grasso. And then in the featured bout of the evening, it is the fight that was supposed to take place at UFC 303 between the #3 ranked Brian T-City Ortega taking on the Phenom and the finisher ranked #12 in the featherweight division in Diego Lopes. So without any further ado, let's get this started and step into the ring. All right, we're back after the UFC Vegas 97 picks where we went 8-4. It would have been 7-5, but I ended up switching my pick from Budka to Andre Petroski after the way the weigh-ins played out. So that was definitely a good idea on my part. But yeah, let's keep the streak going and let's try to get a clean sweep for Noche UFC. First up in the bantamweight division, you have a battle between Raul Rosas Jr. taking on Aoriqileng. I think we know exactly what this fight is, man. This is a fight to get Raul Rosas Jr. a finish, get an early finish, and get the Mexican crowd hyped up for Noche UFC. That's exactly what this fight is. I will say, though, Aoriqileng is a much better striker than Raul Rosas Jr. If this stays on the feet for too long and he tries to, get too aggressive and play the game, Aoriqileng might snipe him. He might catch him coming in and bank him right on the chin, and he could knock Rosas Jr. out. Rosas Jr. doesn't have the best defense. He's just a machine, and even early on in his last fight against Ricky Turcios, he got taken down. He got his back taken. He almost got submitted with a rear naked choke. I mean, I thought it was over, and he was able to come through, get back into it, and then eventually submit Turcios. He knocked out Terrence Mitchell, which, it's Terrence Mitchell. There's not much to say about that. But looking at this fight, man, I think Rosas is just meaner. He's going to push a pace heavier than Aoriqileng can keep up with. And I do think Aoriqileng is the better striker overall. He's more technical. He has good counters. He lands his combinations well. But I think he's just going to get taken down. I think he's going to get controlled. I think Rosas is going to get into some scrambles. He's going to win the scramble. He's going to flatten him out with ground and pound. And I do think he's going to win with a submission. But I would not be surprised if it is with ground and pound in this fight. I think it's going to end on the ground, whether it's a submission or ground and pound. I mean, Rosas Jr. might even drop him, but I kind of think he's going to play it smart and change levels and get that takedown and work early to take the back and try to finish him. I'm going to go with Raul Rosas Jr. to get the job done via I'm going to go round 2. I could see round 1, but I think Aoriqileng is a little bit durable. I don't think he's going to go out right away, but I'm going to go with Raul. You know what? No, forget it. It's Noche UFC, baby. We're going round 1. Give me Raul Rosas Jr. to defeat Aoriqileng via a first round rear naked choke submission. I think he's going to take him down, take his back, flatten him out, land ground and pound. The minute Aoriqileng picks his neck up, he's going to put that rear naked choke in, and we're getting a first round submission victory for Raul Rosas Jr. Alright, next up is a pretty late addition to this card, and it's a banger in the flyweight division between Edgar Chairez, who was originally set to take on Kevin Borjas, taking on the returning Joshua Van. Now, we know that Van is coming off of that loss in the 3rd round to Charles Johnson. It was probably 1-1 going into round 3. Johnson came out, caught him with a right hook from southpaw, switched to orthodox, and then threw the same hand right up the middle and knocked out Joshua Van. You know, the one thing about Van you got to worry about is his durability. You know, he's a durable guy, but coming off that KO loss, what is he going to look like against a guy fighting in front of his home crowd in Edgar Chairez? You've got Chairez, who is going to come out here and look for a finish. It doesn't matter if he's locking up a submission. It doesn't matter if he's hurting you on the feet. But to be honest, when I look at this fight on paper, if it wasn't for the durability, I would be all over Joshua Van. I think Van might be an underdog. At least he opened as an underdog. I'm not sure what he is now. But I think he's much better than Chairez. I think he throws better volume. He mixes up his combinations better. I think he moves better than a guy like Chairez. You know, I think that Van has issues against guys who, number one, have a lot of output and volume, and number two, who move their feet very well. You know, lateral movement, in and out movement, switching stances. You know, Chairez is kind of like a Joshua Van in a way, except he doesn't have the volume and the combinations of a Joshua Van. It's like a less dangerous boxer version of Van with better jiu-jitsu. That's the way I look at it. I think Chairez is the much better grappler when the fight hits the mat. I think he can probably get a submission if he hurts Joshua Van on the feet. But I also think Van is going to be able to kind of find the openings, land in between the shots of Edgar Chairez and hurt him. But again, you got to worry about the durability. You know, what's he going to look like coming off that KO loss to Charles Johnson? And a loss that was, what, 5-6 months ago? Let's see. July 13th. Yeah, not even 2 months ago. Yeah, July 13th, when he's going to be fighting on September 14th. So 2 months after a KO loss. Now, did he get knocked out stiff? No. But did he get KO'd? I mean, yeah, he was out, I think, when that uppercut landed, and then he kind of woke up when he hit the mat. I'm worried about that. You know, you don't know what he's going to look like coming into this fight. Is he coming back too fast? You know, and we've seen Van get dropped in other fights. We saw him get dropped by Kevin Borjas, you know, with a good 3-2. We've seen him get rocked before. You know, this guy is not invincible. He just finds a way to cover up and come back, but he does get hit. We don't know too much about Chairez. We know Chairez went the distance with Tatsuro Taira. We know he almost got Taira in a guillotine choke, and it was very close. If Chairez hurts Joshua Van, I think he can grab his neck. I think he can choke him out. This is a fight I wouldn't bet at all. I don't like the under because I think it can go the distance. I don't like Chairez because I think the volume and the combinations of Joshua Van and his pace in the 2nd and 3rd round is probably going to be too much for a guy like Chairez to handle. And I don't like betting Van, whether it's favorite or underdog in this one, because we don't know about his durability, especially coming off of a KO 2 months prior to this. So I would say this is a no bet. This is probably the clearest stay away spot on the entire card. But I'm going to take Joshua Van to win by decision. I think Van wins the 2nd, wins the 3rd round, lands good combinations, rips to the body, rips up top. I could see a round 2-3 TKO for Joshua Van. That's something I definitely think is in the cards for him because he might be able to overwhelm a guy like Chairez. But I'm going to go Joshua Van by decision. Give me 29-28. Unanimous decision for Joshua Van in this fight. Give me the fearless. All right, this next fight up is in the women's strawweight division between Yazmin Jauregui taking on Ketlen Souza. Listen, this is another fight where I think you do have to worry a little bit about the durability of a girl like Yazmin. She's way more technical than Souza. She has way more volume, much higher output. She mixes her combinations up between the head, the body, the legs. She puts her hands and feet together very well. She has good lateral movement, good in and out movement, and she's very solid. This is a girl that I think can be a future champion, aside from one issue, the durability. Ketlen Souza is decently technical, but she kind of just throws big bombs on the feet. Big overhands, big hooks, decent shots to the body, you know, some good leg kicks. But she's going to look to throw those big overhands. She's going to look to throw those big hooks. And if you go and you watch the fight between Yazmin Jauregui and Denise Gomes, that was another fight where Gomes was a huge underdog. And she hurt her early, and she put her away. Souza has power. I think she might be able to knock out Jauregui. She's got big enough power to the point where if Jauregui tries to come in, you know, over aggressive because she's in front of her hometown crowd, she might get clipped. But again, this is another fight that I think is kind of set up for this hometown crowd. This is a fight that is set up for Jauregui to look good. This is a fight that's set up for Jauregui to put her combinations together and flow. And I think Jauregui is going to get this done. Now, the question is, does she win via TKO or does she win by decision? A lot of the times when you pick a women's fight to end inside the distance, somehow the fighters make it to a decision. So I'm going to play the safe card here. I don't like to do this. You guys know me. I do not like to play the safe card. But I'm going to go Yazmin Jauregui by decision, 30-27. But if I was going to play devil's advocate, I would sprinkle on the Jauregui KO round 2, round 3. It's probably over plus 500 when the lines come out a little bit later on in the week. But I think she can definitely put a volume-based finish on her, kind of like Sam Hughes. But I don't know if Souza's as durable as Sam Hughes. And I do think Souza's liable for a finish. So I like Jauregui. I would say if you're going to do it, double chance, KO decision. But it's probably really close to the money line. If you're on Souza, I just Souza inside the distance because I don't think she wins a decision. I really just don't think it's going to happen. But I'm going to take Jauregui, 30-27 unanimous decision. But again, like I said, if you're on Souza, it's Souza inside the distance. And if you're on Jauregui, KO decision or KO 2-3. All right, up next, one of my favorite fights on the card in the lightweight division. You got a battle between Manuel El Loco Torres, who comes in with a record of 15-2, taking on Ignacio La Jaula Bahamondes, who comes back with a record of 15-5. Listen, this is another one that, this is a close fight. I think the better technician, the better overall technical striker, the better defensive fighter is Ignacio Bahamondes. He uses good low kicks, good body kicks. We've seen him knock people out with spinning wheel kicks to the head. He can land lead head kicks, rear head kicks, front kicks. Really good 1-2 down the middle, has a good jab, and he constantly switches stances. That's the one thing you'll notice about a guy like Bahamondes, is he'll switch between orthodox and southpaw pretty much after every sequence. He'll move, 1-2, switch southpaw. Hook cross, boom boom, back orthodox. Bop bop bop, back southpaw. Cross, hook, low kick, back orthodox. And he's constantly switching between left and right. That's going to be hard for a guy like Manuel Torres to get a hold of. I do think that the faster fighter is Ignacio Bahamondes. I do think that Bahamondes has more weapons. He's probably going to have the higher output. He's going to have more volume. He's going to mix up more weapons on the feet. He's probably going to have the better footwork. But I think Manuel Torres is just a mean, nasty motherfucker. That's really what I think. I think Manuel Torres is the type of guy that's going to give Bahamondes trouble the minute the fight starts. He's going to come out and look for a finish. The minute the fight starts, it's on for Manuel Torres. That step-in elbow he landed against Nicholas Mota, nasty. Put him out, one shot. Goes up against Chris Duncan, gets rocked, but he kind of backs off. And then Duncan tries to go for a takedown. They get into a scramble. Torres goes for like a head and arm backside trip. And then when Duncan tries to roll through, Torres follows him, takes the back, gets the hooks in and locks in the rear naked choke and gets the submission in round 1. Got a beautiful finish on the Contender Series. He got a brutal KO, a little step back, left hook, right uppercut. It was like a shovel hook against Frank Camacho. I mean, I like this guy, Manuel Torres. He's going to try to finish you the minute the fight starts. And yes, if it goes to decision, Torres probably is going to get tired. But it's going to be a case of the damage, I think, that Torres is going to be able to land on Bahamondes versus the output of Bahamondes. So I think there is even possibilities that Manuel Torres wins a decision because of the damage he's able to cause. And the one thing I think this makes me draw back to is the Ignacio fight against Ludovic Klein. Ludovic Klein, you know, was kind of outgunned in terms of the technicality, at least just in terms of the output, but the minute he landed on the chin of Bahamondes, he hurt him. Then Bahamondes came back, but he took him down, and he held him down, and he kept him in place, and he landed some ground and pound. Now, Bahamondes trains under Mike Valley, under Valley Flow, VFS, out in my neck of the woods near Chicago, Illinois, and he is training with the welterweight champion of the world, you know, in Belal Muhammad. So I'm sure his offensive and defensive grappling has gotten a lot better, but I do think Manuel Torres has the much better jiu-jitsu. I think Manuel Torres is the much more aggressive fighter, which is going to leave him open for counters from a guy who's as technical and as fast twitch as a guy like Bahamondes, but I think Manuel Torres is too much for him. I think Manuel Torres is going to come in here, and I think he's going to beat the ever-living shit out of Bahamondes. I think he's too fast. Not too fast. I think he's too powerful. I think he's just going to, once he hurts him, he's not going to allow for Bahamondes to recover. This isn't a guy who's going to drop you and then just lay on top of you and allow you to get your bearings about you. He gets you on the ground. He's landing vicious elbows. He's landing hammer fists. He's going for rear naked chokes. He's going for Darce chokes. He's going for guillotines. He has 7 submissions, I think. 7 submissions out of his 15 wins. I mean, this guy's a finisher, and most of his finishes, if not all of his wins, come in the first round. You know, we don't know what the cardio is going to look like, but I think he's more powerful. I think he's nastier. I think he has higher finishing ability than Bahamondes. I think every time Torres hits Bahamondes, he's going to hurt him. And I think Bahamondes is going to be cleaner. I think Bahamondes is going to land the higher volume. I do think Torres is there to get hit. He doesn't move his head that well. You know, that head kick might be there. That spinning wheel kick might be there. But I think what's going to be there is Torres in the face of Bahamondes going loco. And I'm going with El Loco to get a finish via knockout against Ignacio Bahamondes. I think this kid makes a statement. I think Manuel Torres is legit, and I think he's going to put away Bahamondes. I'm going to go with just a counter left hook or a right uppercut. Like a little shovel hook. Either a counter left shovel hook or a right shovel hook. As Bahamondes tries to walk in, he's going to drop him. He's going to jump on him, hammer fists and elbows, and the ref is going to pull him off. Give me Manuel El Loco Torres to defeat Ignacio Bahamondes via a second round knockout victory, or TKO. Second round TKO victory for Manuel Torres. All right, up next, you've got a women's bantamweight bout between two of my favorite fighters in this women's bantamweight division. I'm not even going to lie to you. I like both these girls. Between the former title challenger in Irene Aldana taking on Norma Dumont. You got 11-2 for Dumont, 15-7 for Aldana, but that record does not do her justice. Her last fight against, who was it, Carol Hossa? Man, she lost that first round with those inside and outside low kicks, got demolished with those calf kicks, and then just said F it, and got right back in her face, landing combinations, uppercut, hook, 1, 3, 2, 6, 3 to the body, jab, uppercut, 6, jab, uppercut, hook to the body, rear uppercut, 1, 2, 2, 3, boom, puts her combinations together. Aldana has some of the best boxing in the women's division, whether it's flyweight, strawweight, or bantamweight. She's got some of the best and cleanest hands, training alongside the woman who's defending her strawweight or her flyweight championship in Alexa Grasso. Man, anybody from that camp has really, really solid hands, at least when it comes to the women's divisions. Norma Dumont is a decent boxer as well. She switches stances pretty well. She's probably going to be the stronger fighter between the two. I would say she might have the higher amount of raw strength if they get into the clinch positions. But that's where Dumont's going to win this, man. Dumont's coming off a win over the former inaugural women's featherweight champion in Germaine Durandamy via decision. Could have got a finish in that fight, I believe, but constant takedowns, constant top pressure, going for submissions, controlling from the top. And we do know that Aldana gives up a lot of takedowns. You know, she's not like extremely easy to take down, but she will give up top control time. She will give up positions on the ground. And I think this could be a case where Aldana is just butchering Dumont on the feet, landing, you know, much better combinations and much better output. but maybe gets taken down and controlled for a decent amount of the round. She only has a 76% takedown defense. That's actually not terrible, but Dumont has almost a 70% takedown accuracy, 68% takedown accuracy. That means that pretty much out of every 10 takedowns she's shooting, she's getting 7 of them, you know, and so she goes for about 2 takedowns per 15-minute fight. You know, you put that into like a 70% chance. I mean, she's getting almost every takedown that she shoots, just kind of like we said, 7 out of 10. Takedown defense, 72% for Dumont, 76% for Aldana. But if you look at the strikes, 3.11 strikes landed per minute for Dumont to 5.24 for Aldana. She takes 6.33, does Aldana, and Dumont only takes 1.89. 66% striking defense to 57% for Aldana, but, you know, I don't think Dumont's not a terrible striker. I would say Dumont is a better striker in terms of putting combinations together than a Carol Rosa, but I do think Dumont is going to be outmatched here in terms of the boxing on the feet. If there's going to be a Mexican fighter that kind of makes it real close, makes it wishy-washy, and might drop it, it might be Aldana. Aldana might be the one who loses for the Mexican crowd, but I think Aldana's going to get this done. I think Aldana's boxing, her footwork, her movement, you know, training alongside another champion in the UFC in Alexa Grasso, I think that's just going to up her confidence. I think that's going to up her ability to, you know, want to come in front of her crowd, in front of the Mexican crowd, and put on a good performance. But if Dumont gets a ton of takedowns, I mean, the minute this fight's on the ground, it is a Norma Dumont style of fight. She's going to control from the top. She's going to get to half guard. She's going to land ground and pound. And it's going to be very difficult for Aldana to get back up. But I have a feeling she's working on her takedown defense. I have a feeling she will be able to get up. And when she does get up, I think she will land a lot of good combinations on the feet. But Aldana's always kind of been wishy-washy. Even in that Carol Rosa fight, I thought for sure she was going to knock her out. She probably should have. But Rosa was durable enough to remain in the fight and last. So, you know, like I said, Aldana, it's kind of a question mark. You don't know what kind of Aldana you're going to get. I thought she was going to knock out Amanda Nunes, and she had some decent points in that fight, but for the most part just kind of got outclassed and dominated, and I didn't expect that. She said after the fight that it was, you know, the championship jitters and, you know, being under the lights. I think if Aldana's on, and she's on for good, she would have beat the shit out of Amanda Nunes. I really believe that. I think that's how good this girl's boxing is. Her combos are clean, crisp, and tight. I'm going to take Aldana to win via TKO here. I like Dumont too. I don't want to see her lose. But I think Aldana is going to rip those body shots, and I think she's going to drop her with a left hook to the body. And I think she's going to jump on her and get her out of there. I'm going to go with a third round body shot TKO for Irene Aldana over Norma Dumont. But it would not surprise me if Dumont got a submission, and it wouldn't surprise me if Dumont won this fight just based off takedowns and top control time. This is a tricky fight where you got to be like, oh, I'm not 100% sure, but I do think the output, the volume, and the boxing skills of Irene Aldana are going to win her this fight. I think she drops her with a body shot and gets the job done. Give me Irene Aldana to defeat Norma Dumont via a third round body shot TKO. I'm going to go with a liver shot. All right, next up is in the flyweight division. This is the first bout on the main card between Ronaldo Rodriguez, who comes in 17-2, taking on Ode Osbourne, who comes back at 12-7-1 no contest. You know, Ode Osbourne, he's proved me wrong in some fights. You know, I expected him to get finished super early by Asu Almabayev. I expected him to lose to Charles Johnson. I think he honestly could have lost that decision. But at the end of the day, they gave it to Ode Osbourne. But there's never really been a performance in his career where I've been like, oh man, you know, this guy's really good. And I think Ronaldo Rodriguez is better. I think that we've seen holes in the grappling defense and the submission defense of Ode Osbourne. I think if he gets into a point fighting match against Ode, then yeah, maybe Ode, you know, outstrikes him from the outside and wins a decision. But from what I've seen from Rodriguez, even though it hasn't been much, his striking on the inside is decent. He throws really solid power hooks from the lead and rear side. And on top of that, like I said, he has really good jiu-jitsu, really good grappling, really good ability to take the back. On his back, he'll throw up arm bars, he'll throw up triangles. He'll go for sweeps. When he's on your back, he's looking to ground and pound and then eventually soften you up for a rear naked choke. I think Ronaldo Rodriguez is going to run through Osbourne. I think the UFC know exactly what they're doing here with a guy like Rodriguez. I'm surprised he's not a much, much, much bigger favorite in this fight specifically, especially going up against the guy who's 12-7. I like Ronaldo Rodriguez. I like Ronaldo Rodriguez inside the distance. I think he wins with a rear naked choke submission. Just like we talked about with Raul Rosas Jr., I think the grappling of Rodriguez is what's going to show its head here, what's going to show through in terms of the skill set. He's going to get the takedown, work from the top, land ground and pound, take the back, get the rear naked choke, and that is going to be a wrap. Give me a first round rear naked choke submission for Ronaldo Rodriguez, potentially second round, but I'm going to go with a first round rear naked choke submission for Ronaldo Rodriguez. Up next, you have a battle in the lightweight division between Daniel Zellehuber taking on Esteban Ribovics. Ribovics comes back at like a plus 205 underdog. Zellehuber minus 260, minus 275, something like that. I don't know. I know we haven't really talked about odds, but I think it's important in this fight. Zellehuber is very technical. He's very long, very rangy. He's going to have an 8-inch reach advantage. That's how this guy's going to win the fight. Using his jab, using his 1-2, kicking from the outside, inside, outside low kicks, kicks to the body, throwing up head kicks, jabs, 1-2s down the middle as Esteban tries to come in. And, he probably could snipe him from the outside. But to be honest, man, I have never been supremely impressed with a guy like Zellehuber. The only fight I've ever picked him outright to win in was the fight against Christos Giagos. And I picked him to win before, but I'm saying the only fight I was really confident in him winning was the one against Christos Giagos. And Giagos almost knocked him out in the first minute of the fight. I mean, he hurt him so bad, he was wobbling all over the place, and he just made it nasty. Esteban is a guy who is going to get in your face from the minute the fight starts to the minute the fight ends. He's not going to quit on himself. He has good striking, not the best takedown defense, but I don't think we're going to see Zellehuber really look to use his wrestling. I think if he has a good game plan, he might look to get on the inside, take down Esteban, and control him from the top to win the rounds, and then maybe win a decision or look for a submission, because we have seen Daniel Zellehuber get a submission in his career against Christos Giagos, the same guy who hurt him early on in the fight. I picked against Zellehuber in the fight with Francisco Prado, and Prado lost. He clearly lost the decision, but he was coming forward. He was looking to land shots, and the lateral movement, the backward movement, striking off the back foot, the jab, the check hook, the 1-2 down the middle, they landed very well for Daniel Zellehuber. That's probably the best he's looked in his UFC career. But I think Esteban is a different kind of problem, man. This guy's not going to stop coming forward. This guy, has decent sweeps off of his back. He doesn't have the best takedown defense, but he can go for Kimura sweeps. He can go for sweeps. He works his way back up to the feet. He's got good combinations on the inside. That's the one thing I give him over a guy like Francisco Prado, is it's not just 1 or 2 shots. He's going to throw 3, 4, 5, 6 punch combinations. Go cross head kick. Go lead jab, lead head kick. And he really mixes up his shots very well. And it's multiple shot combinations. And I think that's going to be a problem for a guy like Zellehuber, who's so heavy off that jab and so heavy off the counter striking. It might be hard for him to find his counters when he's got 3, 4, 5, 6 punches, with kicks on the end coming at him. And I think the fighter who's going to be able to push a higher pace over 15 minutes is Esteban Ribovics. I think Ribovics, he might not have the best durability. He lost the fight against Loik Radzhabov, but he dropped Loik in that fight. He hurt Loik. And then in the fight against Kamuela Kirk, lost the first round by getting taken down and getting controlled, but that's the wheelhouse of Kirk. It's the jiu-jitsu. It's the control. It's the back takes. It's the ground and pound looking to soften you up for a submission. When it was on the feet, the fight was extremely competitive, but it was Ribovics who was walking him down. And it was Ribovics who got controlled for the entire first round and then came back and was able to outstrike Kamuela Kirk and even hurt him at one point. This guy's got power. This guy has combinations. I mean, that lead uppercut cross high kick or rear uppercut lead jab high kick, the cross kick combination that he landed against Terrence McKinney, I mean, it knocked him out cold early in the first round. I picked Ribovics in that fight. I had a bet on a second round knockout. He got it very quickly into the first round. But, you know, that's Terrence McKinney, who thinks he can beat John Jones, and it doesn't make any sense. I'm not trying to shit on him, it's just, you know, the guy talks a really big game for kind of having 1 round's worth of cardio. Love the guy, love his fights, very entertaining, but, you know, Esteban is a problem, and I think he is a problem for Zellehuber. Do I think Zellehuber's a bad fighter? No. I think he has good jabs. I think he uses a good 1-2, very good kicks to the body, good kicks up top. He might want to work the body of Ribovics, but Ribovics goes down low with those hooks, comes back up top with hooks and uppercuts, comes over the top with overhands. This guy's tough. Ribovics does not quit. He will walk forward, he will find his openings, and he will put you on the back foot and look to land big shots on you. Could Zellehuber clip him with a counter? Could he snipe him with a big counter? Yes. But I think Ribovics is well-rounded enough, has higher output, is going to be the pressure fighter. He's going to kind of walk through some of those counters, and he's going to be able to do what I thought Francisco Prado was going to be able to do to Zellehuber, but at a higher success rate. I think Esteban Ribovics is going to finish Daniel Zellehuber. Not only is he a big underdog, I think he gets the job done via finish. Could it be a decision? Yes, but I'm going to go Esteban Ribovics to win via late second round knockout. I think he's going to be able to walk through those counters, be able to work his way into the distance, be able to close that distance and crash that pocket. Overhands, hooks, uppercuts, jabs to the body, head kicks. I think he's going to be able to put combinations on Zellehuber that makes Zellehuber uncomfortable and leave him open for counters and leave him open to get pushed back and bullied the longer the fight goes. So give me Esteban Ribovics. Give me Ribovics. Give me Ribo, the robot Ribovics. Esteban Ribovics to get the job done here via a second round knockout of Daniel Zellehuber. I think this kid's for real, and I like what I've seen from him. I'm going with the big dog. Give me Ribovics by knockout. Alright, and now we are at the featured bout of the evening. A fight that was rebooked from UFC 303 on just a few hours' notice between Brian T-City Ortega taking on Diego Lopes. I'm going to keep this short and sweet. Obviously, we'll get into the breakdown, but I think Lopes is going to finish Brian Ortega. I think he's going to knock him out, and I think he's going to knock him out within the first 2 rounds. This is a 3-round fight. You know, the higher level competition is Brian Ortega. You know, we don't have to spend a whole lot of time on this. We know this. He fought Max Holloway. He fought Volkanovski. He fought the Korean Zombie. He fought Frankie Edgar. I mean, you name it. Yair Rodriguez. This guy's fought them all. But Diego Lopes, even though he's not as technical with his striking, this dude is going to come forward and look to put you on ice right away. Most of his wins come inside the distance and inside of the first round. First round triangle armbar against Gavin Tucker. First round knockout against Pat Sabatini. First round knockout against Sadiq Youssef. Went to decision with Dan Ige, and that's something, let me go off track for a second. Everybody's going to look at the fact that Lopes went to decision with Dan Ige and think that that's a bad look when Ige came in on a few hours notice because Ortega had to pull out. I'm not saying that you're totally wrong there because he should have had the cardio to go 15 minutes, but you do understand he's getting a completely different stylistic matchup on less than 5 hours notice, and he's going to jump in, move up a weight class after he already did a weight cut, and then fight a guy who has knockout power and big power in his hands in Ige, who has everything to lose and nothing to gain, while Diego Lopes has everything to lose and pretty much nothing to gain except a win over a pretty tough guy in Dan Ige. He got the job done. He tired out in the 3rd round. Yes, it doesn't look great for his cardio. Ige was able to land good ground and pound on the top, especially in round 3, but the first 2 rounds it was easy work for Diego Lopes. Almost got a Darce choke, landed some good combinations on the feet, was able to take the back of Dan Ige, control him from the body triangle, hold him in place, and yes, he did get tired, but this isn't a 5-round fight, this is a 3-round fight. If this was a 5-round fight, I think I would be a little bit higher on the side of Ortega. I think Ortega has the better cardio in round 4 and round 5. I think Ortega could tire out a guy like Lopes, take his best shots for the first couple rounds, and then tire him out in round 3 and then find a finish in 4 and 5. Kind of like what he did against Yair Rodriguez, getting dropped, getting hurt, getting rocked, almost getting finished in the first round, you know, hurting his ankle, rolling his ankle during the celebrations, then coming back, getting the takedowns, controlling Yair Rodriguez from the top, you know, landing ground and pound, getting to the mount, and then getting that arm triangle choke submission in round 3. But thinking of it stylistically, there's really never been anybody that Ortega's fought who has comparable jiu-jitsu to him, aside from Diego Lopes. Diego Lopes is the highest level jiu-jitsu fighter that Brian Ortega's ever fought. And I'm not saying that Korean Zombie didn't have jiu-jitsu, but Korean Zombie never really used his jiu-jitsu. Yes, he got a twister, but in the UFC, he mainly used his wrestling defensively and used his striking offensively. You know, that was the big thing for the Korean Zombie. We saw him use his jiu-jitsu against Dan Ige, you know, coincidentally, and use his wrestling. But he never really used it offensively. It was more a defense mechanism built into his game. Ortega is probably the better technical striker between him and Diego Lopes. But I think Lopes is going to just put Brian Ortega under that pressure, land those hooks, land those uppercuts, land those shots inside from the single collar clinch, uppercut, hook to the head, you know, up the middle, come around the side door, knock on the door, come around the side, you know, mixing up his combinations, putting his combos together. Yes, Ortega has a decent jab. Ortega has a good uppercut. Ortega has decent knees. We've seen him clip guys like Clay Guida with a knee after he was losing that fight. He does have good striking, but I kind of think Ortega's 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And I think Diego Lopes is both feet in, balls in his hands, ready to throw down in front of the Mexican crowd. And I know Ortega is also Mexican. This is going to be 2 Mexican warriors trying to put on a show, and one's going to go out on their shield. I will say this, there's a possibility this fight goes the distance, because I think that both these guys are tough. I think if Ortega gets a finish, it's probably round 3. He might be able to tire out Lopes, catch him in a submission. Lopes has been submitted in his career before, prior to the UFC, but I think he has good enough jiu-jitsu to defend. But Ortega's a high-level jiu-jitsu artist as well, probably the highest level jiu-jitsu in the UFC. So it's possible that Ortega gets a sub. If I was going to bet Ortega, it would be Brian Ortega to win in round 3, and Brian Ortega round 3 submission. That's how I would play it if I'm on the side of Ortega. I think Lopes is going to come into this fight, you know, still hot out the gate, but play it a little bit safer. And I think he's going to hurt Ortega. I think he's going to hurt Ortega a bunch. I think he's going to let Ortega up if he hurts him. Or I think he'll be able to scramble with Ortega enough to be able to be a guy who can follow him down to the ground when he hurts him and not have to worry about getting caught in submissions as much as the other guy, which makes his striking and his game more dangerous. So he might follow him down to the ground. He might even submit Brian Ortega. I don't think he would win by submission, but he might. But I think he's going to hurt him, rock him, you know, drop him, stumble him, find a way to work his way to the top, flatten him out, and win with a ground and pound TKO in round 1. I think Lopes finishes Brian Ortega in the first round. You know, I hope he doesn't blow his gas tank in round 1 and then it's just an easy win for Ortega. That's definitely something that could happen in this fight with just the way that Lopes fights and how Ortega has to come from behind in some of his victories. But yeah, if I was playing Ortega, I would play Ortega round 3, Ortega round 3 sub. But I like Diego Lopes here, man. I think that this kid's legit. I think he has the output, the aggressiveness, the jiu-jitsu to be able to follow Ortega to the ground and be able to defend those submission attempts. The jiu-jitsu to be able to find good positions on the ground and flatten out Ortega and land ground and pound. I think this kid has the goods. So I'm going Diego Lopes. I'm going Diego Lopes by a first-round TKO against Brian T-City Ortega. It could be round 2. I wouldn't be surprised. The fight could go to decision. It wouldn't shock me. Ortega could win in round 3. You know, this is a fight where it could go a multitude of different ways. This isn't the best fight to bet on the card. If I was going to single bet, this is not the one I would do it on. But I do like Lopes to hurt Ortega follow up and not let him off the hook and find a way to get the finish. Give me Diego Lopes, first round TKO victory over Brian T-City Ortega, and moving his way into probably a title shot after this win. Alright, next up, we're at the co-main event of the evening in the trilogy bout between Alexa Grasso and Valentina Shevchenko for the Women's Flyweight Championship of the world. Looking at this fight, I honestly think that this is where we see Valentina can't go with the top girls anymore. You know, the last fight with Grasso was close, but I think you have more of a case of Grasso winning than you do for Valentina, even though it was a draw. I think she won 3 out of the 5 rounds. I think she should have gotten the decision. Now, I picked Grasso 4th round rear naked choke in the first fight against Valentina, where she was a 6-1 underdog. You know, that's not going to play into this fight because I picked her the second time as well, and I think she did enough to win. Here's the difference. I think speed for speed, Valentina is faster, but I think the older she gets, the slower she's going to become, and I think this might be the worst version of Valentina, but the best version of Alexa Grasso that we've seen. You know, I think it's an incline on one side and a decline on another. And that's not saying that Valentina looked bad in the second fight. You know, she didn't look bad. The fight was close. She could have got the decision. I don't think she did enough to win. She landed more strikes, but Grasso was very good at landing strikes in between the strikes of Valentina. She was finding the jab in between the combinations of Valentina. She was finding the cross in between the combinations. She wasn't going blow for blow. She was finding the openings in the striking of Valentina. She dropped Valentina. Valentina did not drop her. She caught her with a big hook, boom, made her roll back, and then she charged a little bit too fast. But later on in the fight, she hurt her up against the cage with her boxing combinations. Alexa Grasso is a very, very good boxer. You know, she doesn't have the greatest defense, but she's very, very tough. You look at her significant strikes, 4.67 landed per minute to 3.28 for Valentina. She takes 3.95. Valentina takes 2.11. So kind of even if you look at the landed to absorbed. And then with defense, 58% striking defense for Grasso, 62% striking defense for Valentina, 71% takedown defense for Valentina, 59% takedown defense for Grasso. I do think that Valentina's probably going to look to use her wrestling more in this fight. I think that she will look to get the takedowns. I think she will get some, but I think Grasso's going to work her way back up to the feet a lot faster in this fight than the last fight. I think, like I said, I think we're going to see a much better version of Grasso and a regressed version of Valentina. This is MMA. This is fighting. You know, eventually every dog has their day, and there's just those certain girls that no matter what you do, you can't beat them. And I think that's what Grasso is to Valentina. I think Grasso is the, you know, ace of spades to Valentina Shevchenko's queen of hearts. And I think the ace in Valentina, or I'm sorry, the ace in Grasso is going to be able to avoid the bullet from Valentina Shevchenko. I really do. I think Valentina is good. Valentina uses good, you know, striking combinations. She fights southpaw. She'll, you know, you use that lead leg, you know, up and down kind of Thai style. Good kicks to the body. Good switch kicks. Very good jab. Good check hook. You know, very simple meat and potatoes combinations. Good body lock takedowns. I do think Grasso will get taken down, but I think I think Grasso will work her way back up to the feet. I think Grasso's going to be more comfortable striking with Valentina in this fight than she was in the last one, and I think she's going to be able to land more shots. I think she's going to be able to get in the face of Valentina a little bit more in this fight than the last one. I think she's going to land her jab in between the combinations of Valentina. She's going to land that straight shot down the middle. She's going to use her movement. She's going to use her footwork. I think she's going to be willing to get up a lot faster, be able to, you know, get to a hip, shrimp out, use the overhook, stand up, turn, you know, Valentina up against the cage, back out, use her combinations, and I think we're going to just see a better Alexa Grasso with a slightly worse Valentina Shevchenko. And I think Grasso wins this fight. I think Grasso is going to retain her championship, and I think Grasso is going to do so via a finish. I think she's going to finish her, except this time, I don't think it's a submission. I think it's a knockout. I think Alexa Grasso is going to box up Valentina. I think she's going to outland her, not in terms of volume, but just land the more meaningful shots. I think she's going to hurt her just like she did in the last fight. I think she's going to land some good combinations. I think she's going to rock Valentina, and I think she's going to pour it on and get a late TKO to retain her flyweight championship. I think Grasso, she improved from the first fight to the second fight. I think she's going to be even better from the second to the third fight. I know the last fight was close. I just rewatched it. I could see you giving it to Valentina, but I did score it for Alexa 3-2. I think Grasso makes a statement in this fight. There's always those trilogies or those double fights where, you know, the first fight, the big underdog wins and they're not expecting them to win. And then in the second fight, somebody makes a statement. So the first fight, Grasso was losing. She found the rear naked choke. She won. The second fight, it was a draw, but I feel like Grasso won the fight. Now, I think we're going to get that statement victory from Alexa Grasso. I think we're going to see a pretty dominant performance. I'm not saying Valentina's not going to have any offense. I'm not saying Valentina isn't going to have, you know, shots landed, isn't going to get some takedowns, isn't going to have some top control time, might go for some submissions in her own right. But I think Grasso's going to find those strikes in between the combinations of Valentina. She's going to land those sharper strikes. She's going to land her sharper hands, and she's going to hurt her and piece her up and put her down with a TKO. I think Alexa Grasso is going to retain her UFC Women's Flyweight Championship via a third round TKO victory over Valentina the Bullet Shevchenko. I think this is the fight where people understand that Grasso is the best 125er in the women's division. She is the flyweight champion. She is the best 125-pound women's fighter on the planet. And I think she's going to TKO Valentina Shevchenko. Just start out landing her, start getting her tired quicker than the last time, and then just piece her up with some big combinations and put her down. Gimme and still Alexa Grasso to remain the women's UFC or the UFC Women's Flyweight Champion via a third round TKO against Valentina Shevchenko. And now we are at the main event of the evening for the UFC Bantamweight Championship of the world. You have the reigning, defending 18-1 Bantamweight champion in the Sugar Show, Sean O'Malley, or Sugar. Sean O'Malley taking on the relentless forward pressure, takedown attempts, and wrestling suffocation of Merab the Machine, Dvalishvili. I mean, we know what we're going to get here. The striking of O'Malley is what's going to win him this fight. The range control, the distance. And for Merab, it's going to be the forward pressure, you know, the few punch combinations, and the takedown attempts. He might shoot 50 takedowns and only get 5, you know. That's just the way that he wrestles. He's a chain wrestler, body lock, double leg, single leg, lift and dump, you know, just mixing up his takedown attempts. But he never gets tired. I think the only way you make Merab tired is you just have to hurt him over and over and over again. You have to hurt him, and you got to hurt him often. You got to land uppercuts up the middle. You got to land knees up the middle. You got to land, you know, front kicks to the chin. You got to pull back and throw the straight punches as he changes levels. And I think if anybody's going to be able to do that, it's a guy like the champion in O'Malley. He's going to be at a 4-inch reach advantage, 72-inch reach to a 68-inch reach for Merab. But with the style of fight, I mean, Merab fights like a guy who has a shorter reach. You know, jab, low kick, 1-2, 1-2, use that to come in and change levels, go to doubles, singles, mix it up, go to the body lock, get the takedowns, and continue to rinse and repeat the same song and dance that Merab has done throughout his entire career. Now, we've seen Merab get clipped with 2 left hooks from 2 different oppositions. He got caught with a big left hook from Marlon Moraes, multiple times actually. And then he got hit with another big left hook from Henry Cejudo. They both threw the right hand, and Henry Cejudo and Moraes, or Henry Cejudo and Marlon Moraes' left hook got there before Merab's did. Now, with O'Malley, I don't think it's going to be a left hook that finishes Merab. I think it's either going to be a knee up the middle, like Marlon Chito Vera. That technically should have finished him, but it didn't. But then knee up the middle, or potentially, you know, catching him as he comes in, stepping back and firing over the top with a cross. You know, kind of like he caught Thomas Almeida with. in a similar situation where I think it's not going to be a front kick that he lands. He might fake the front kick, which is going to make Merab come forward, and then he's going to pull back, plant on his rear foot, and fire that cross, whether it's from southpaw or orthodox. Now, Merab is an orthodox fighter. I kind of feel like we're going to see O'Malley use the southpaw stance a lot more in this fight than we have seen in other fights. Getting that outside foot, circling to the outside, making it harder for Merab to be able to get those takedowns. However, if you are toe-to-toe, which would be opposite stances, it's going to be easier for those reach down single legs. It's going to be easier for the ankle picks. It's going to be easier for the singles to the doubles, and things like that. And I do think Merab is going to get takedowns here. You know, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I don't think Merab's going to be able to get any wrestling off, because I would be a complete idiot if I said that. I do think Merab is going to get some takedowns, but I think he's going to eat so many shots. I think O'Malley is going to be able to work his way back up to the feet. You know, if you look at Merab's style, it's a lot of takedowns, but he doesn't get a lot of them. He might shoot 50 takedowns and get 10. You know, maybe one a round. He doesn't have a ton of control, but it's more control from the clinch positions and pushing you up against the cage and holding you there. And I think O'Malley is going to be good enough to defend submissions against Merab if the fight does hit the mat. I think he's going to be able to push on the head, control the wrist, and circle off the cage, and then get back to the distance he needs to be able to fake those front kicks, throw the teep kicks to the body, you know, use the jab, throw the 1-2, throw the knees up the middle. And I think as long as this fight's on the feet, Sean O'Malley does have to respect the striking of Merab, because Merab could just come in with a big overhand, come in with a big hook and hurt him and knock him out if he doesn't respect him, kind of like Khabib and Conor. Could be a similar thing where he's not expecting or respecting the striking. He comes in, boom, comes over the top and hurts him just because of the wrestling, the forward pressure, and the takedowns. I think that is something that can happen here, where he clips O'Malley on the chin and everybody's like, holy crap, you know, what just happened? But O'Malley would be able to survive, I believe. I think if Merab wins, it's probably a late submission or a decision, but I think the damage that O'Malley's going to cause is going to be so much worse than Merab. I think Merab's going to walk in, get a couple takedowns, but I think O'Malley's going to work his way back up to the feet. I think O'Malley might threaten with some submissions. I wouldn't recommend it unless it's a ninja choke. I think there is possibility that O'Malley gets a ninja choke submission here. Because of the way Merab's going to be looking for those takedowns, that ninja choke with a long, tall, rangy guy like O'Malley might be there. Sean O'Malley by submission might be something you want to look at, but is that what I'm going to give you? No, it is not. I think O'Malley's going to knock Merab out. He's coming into this fight also with a cut that he sustained in training. It was a pretty decent cut above the eye, I believe. It was either above the eye or under the eye. And there's also pictures out there of Merab with a big hole in his arm that he might have staph infection. So if you have a staph infection and you have your eye cut against a sharpshooter, a technician, and a fighter with the accuracy on the feet like a Sean O'Malley, we might get a doctor stoppage TKO. But I think O'Malley's going to knock Merab out cold. You know, we've seen him get rocked in a couple fights. We've seen him get hurt. We've seen him get dropped. But we haven't seen him knocked out yet. And I think this will be the fight where O'Malley knocks out Merab. I think it's probably going to be either a backstep cross off that, I would say probably off the rear side. Or, I'm sorry, off the right side in the equal stance, which is orthodox. Circling to the outside. Boom! Throwing over the top and landing. Or it's a knee up the middle. I do worry about throwing the knees for O'Malley, though, because with the takedowns and the heavy pressure, you don't want to get your knee caught. But I think O'Malley has such good range and distance control that he might just set it up with fakes and feints, you know, hip feint, jab feint, uppercut feint. Uppercut feint to a rear knee, I think, is how he's going to get it done. If you go back and you watch the Eddie Wineland fight, he faked the uppercut and then threw the cross. I think he's going to do that a couple times to get Merab to try to read the feint and then shoot on the cross. But I think when he lands it, it's going to be a feint uppercut and throw that knee on the same side right up the middle. And I think it's going to catch Merab on the chin and put him to sleep. I think he's going to fake the uppercut, throw the cross a couple times. Merab's going to start to time it, try to shoot in on that cross, and then he's going to fake and throw that rear knee right up the middle, just like he did against Chito Vera, but I think he's going to land it right on the chin and knock Merab out cold. I'm going with Sean O'Malley. I'm going with Ann Still. Sugar Sean O'Malley, still the UFC Bantamweight champion, via I'm going second round knockout again. I'm feeling it. Give me second round knockout. Feinting the uppercut, throwing the rear knee, and landing right on the chin of that gremlin-faced bastard in Merab. I do not like him. I give him his respect. I do not like Merab. I hope O'Malley knocks him out. Maybe I'm biased, but I feel like I broke the fight down pretty well. But give me Sean O'Malley with a rear knee knockout off that uppercut feint in round 2 to remain the UFC Bantamweight champion of the world. All right, that's going to be it for my UFC 306 or Noche UFC preview, predictions, and breakdown. The fights take place this upcoming Saturday from the Sphere in Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm your host, Double M. Let's make some money this weekend and enjoy the fights. I'm out.